Sube el volumen.
Upbox.
Tiene algo enorme para ti.
Si te ofrecen droga, te van a decir que se siente bien padre, que te vas a reír.
And scene.
And we're going again. What?
I said, are you frightened that if this blows up, like in the sense of like your podcast, that you'll be, like not criticized, but like you'll run into that a little bit more?
Yeah.
I mean,
No, definitely.
that's
We
a
could talk
common
about
thing.
that in a little bit, but you could take it from the top.
All right. So, I think it's interesting that just your I mean, it's common, but your comment took such a like some people took it as like a personal attack
Mm-hmm.
because of like their own lifestyle or anything like that.
Right.
And there's a lot of people I feel like that would have that similar not
A similar
mindset but just
reaction.
behavior,
Right.
and being like, hey, I do find myself doing that, but that does take some type of self-awareness or reflection to kind of take that time to be like, because a lot of people can do that. People be like, I love smoking for you because food just tastes better.
Right.
And then the contrast is like, I literally don't have an appetite unless I smoke.
right.
And to not just have that consideration, I feel like is that lack of mindfulness to just be like, I'm sharing the space with someone else. And just because like they don't do it like this, I think that's silly.
Right. I never at some point said like, well, you're wrong or you're right, or, what you're doing is like bad and stuff like that. It was just like people live different lifestyles,
Totally.
right? And I'm not one to say like you're living a right or incorrect lifestyle. It's just like something that I feel like I have pointed out, where it was
Yeah.
like maybe I have felt at some point where it was like I smoke, and sometimes like I feel like I can't eat until I smoke or whatever. And then I feel like personally, like this is an issue. I'm going to step back,
Mhm.
and I'm going to reflect on this and kind of like maybe tone it back, maybe take a tea break and stuff like that. So, like you said, people kind of, I think it just goes back to like projection.
Yeah. And yeah, to me, I think there's this imbalance of mindfulness of like we're sharing space with so many people, and there are so many people who you have similarities with, but like there can be so many subtle differences in that where they might not even think about it the same way, which is like
Right.
that's a perfect example. But to have such a harsh reaction right away, I feel like I don't want to attribute that to just the internet, but just like for people to lash out immediately without any kind of like, okay, let me take this in or let me do whatever, just
Right.
to immediately be dismissive.
I do think it's like a thing that comes with the internet though, because like the internet is just so instant.
Yeah.
Whereas like before, like it was not that way at all, where it was like now you hear something, you don't like it, I'm quick to
Mm,
cancel. I'm gonna jump on it. Especially like something I noticed is like someone says something bad, like, oh my gosh, like, no, what are you talking about, on one video? And then
Yeah.
other people are like, you know what? Like, you're right. And then everyone jumps on this bad bandwagon.
You're right. When you said that, that helped me kind of see that of like, I was the first to think that. So it's kind of like I knew it was like something was fucked up about this. Or,
Right.
'cause
I've
I
definitely seen
knew.
that. That's why I feel like the cancel culture right now is like, it's wild. Like it's
It's
really wild to see people like fuck this person and then they're dead to me, but then there's other people who are like, okay, they're canceled, but like you can't really cancel them. Like they've just been here doing that so long. Like especially with celebrities now. I think celebrities now have not been the same as like celebrities back in the 2000s.
totally.
There was not social media and like cameras and videos and stuff like that like there was like back then, people were just like, that's why I feel like celebrities, they were doing mad drugs and doing crazy shit back then.
I think
It just was not documented.
20% of it is some people have good PR teams that cover that shit up.
Yep.
And then, yeah, a lot of people are walking on eggshells. And I think that Twitter has been a culprit of that, of this. Before you can even think about what you want to say, you're going to spread it and share it with the world. And you're not held accountable for the words you say or anything, but you definitely want to have like an impact.
Right.
And I think if like someone were to investigate, like maybe if someone did something wrong or something like that, or said something, it's just like if someone did a proper investigation and kind of heard from both parties and got every resource and kind of wrote something down and was just like, this is what happened, versus one person just kind of being like dismissive and being like, you already almost have that mindset of like, no, you're dismissive because you're kind of like, your mind is already set. You're kind
Right.
of like, I already think this way and I'm going to prove it,
Right.
which I think a small percentage of that kind of does work, but I don't think entirely as like everybody having the same approach. I think, people change and there are some people who do messed up stuff, and of course that should be brought to light.
Definitely.
But it's
not something that like we're trying to like excuse, and like people, like terrible people that like went on and like did terrible shit. Yes, they should completely 100% get canceled, rid of the face of the earth, not be celebrities, not have as much money as they do now. But I think there is a level of now within celebrity culture, like this performativeness, whereas like it's a very curated thing to do. Whereas like I'm gonna be a celebrity and now I'm just gonna do good things and have good PR and stuff. Because the second I do something wrong, that's it. I'm done. Right.
And
it's a scrutiny, I feel like, definitely.
yeah, because like nobody's perfect. Like it might not be as insanely like negative as like some of these decisions that some people decided to make, but I think that like if someone like I can't even think of a reference, but just like a lot of people grow, and like if you were to see your friends grow, if we were to hold them accountable as we would for the platform for these celebrities, it's kind of like the whole thing I see it as is the internet has, I think in that way, people have let themselves hold these people on the pedestal to be like, these are the examples to be set. So when they fuck up to, whatever
it is they do,
they drop them and replace them, rather than holding just their own lifestyle, their own decisions, their own whatever accountable, and just being their best foot forward, and just looking at them being like, that was neat in that, and just dismissing whatever else. Like they're really taking it in as like, no, you have such a huge impact on set. But what we should be teaching is that like, no, your individual decisions have so much of a more powerful impact that could change like the world, which is literally what happened with the internet, with YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and now TikTok, in the sense of like your own individual voice can have so much of a big impact. But I think people are leaning towards the negative side, and I think we shouldn't point fingers. The only finger you should point is in the direction that you want to take yourself. And I think that carry the torch to light the way in the path that you want to go. Don't do it to push people away. Like if you don't believe in them, don't support them. They will disappear, because if they don't have the support, they don't disappear.
At the end of the day, like they disappear from your life.
Yeah, and like and those are boundaries. Everything, like, once you get older, that's something I took away, and I'm sure Jackie can speak about, is that when you get older, you start to learn that, like, I don't like these things in my life. I have to set a boundary. I have to commit to myself. And that is a practice every day that you have to do. It's nothing immediate, but if you can celebrate the small success of, this was a good, like, I'm happy of this decision because it allowed me to maybe do this or set time for that, or even just to feel better about myself. Like, your hands are still on the wheel. It's okay,
Yeah,
and it's
definitely.
definitely setting boundaries. And
Right. At the end of the day, like you're the only person that you can control. Like you
mhm,
can't really control any of the outside like people or things that you feel like you don't have control over.
yeah, yeah,
So, I definitely understand that. And like you said, like as you get older, you understand that if you don't like something in your life, it's just not going to be beneficial to you. You're going to have to cut it off. And at that point, like you
hmm,
cut it off and it's like out of your life, you
yeah,
know? So that's why I feel like the internet and stuff like that, it's like it's so new and it's still affecting us to this day because it's just growing so rapidly that I have no idea how much power this shit has. Like it definitely has power, like at least in the US, of manipulating the way you
mhm,
think and like the stuff that you do and the things that you buy. Because like you said, like the influence can start from you and it becomes so strong in like a matter of seconds.
yeah, yeah,
Someone's like, "Oh my gosh, look at these fucking laundry machines that I have." And then like you influence someone and then everyone gets them. Like you go
yeah,
to
yeah,
Target because of like a TikTok that you saw. Like I went to Target the other day to find the shampoo that someone on TikTok said was good. They were gone.
yeah,
Sold out.
yeah, totally.
So like it can become like the influence is so incredibly strong and I think it's insane just like the way things have just blown up. But I sometimes like to backtrack and be like, "You know what? I'm in my everyday life and I live here. I have to take care of my home and any outside thing can like just be an outside thing." You know what I mean? So I think you just have to balance,
Yeah,
really.
it's a practice. That's I Anytime some people talk to me, I'm always telling people, like, anything I do is just a practice because it's something you got to try every day, and some days are better, some days aren't. I was thinking as you were talking, I was like, maybe a counter argument someone would be like, say you are having your own individual voice, and you start to gain a following, and then you
Mhm.
feel the weight, which is naturally gonna happen. You're
Right.
gonna have this being like, man, I may gotta make sure I do the right thing, and then that might change like the way your content is, or just the voice you even have, because you're seeing these responses. Some people, like, people respond to this better than that.
Right, right.
But if in the beginning maybe we just take away that this person might be doing that, but we're not gonna rely on their message as is, on like, this,
Mhm.
oh, this is the move to make. Okay, you're the leader now. As in, just everybody contributing into a large pool of just cool, great ideas and
Right.
helping each other. Um,
I feel like I've definitely like taken that in and I think it was something that I talked about 2 episodes ago when I did my solo episode and I was telling everyone that I feel like I have this because of the platform that I have and the people that have followed and listened up until now. I feel like this responsibility to do good. I want to come on here and just be a
mhm,
good person. And that goes like to the outside of my life because this has grown in my personal life. I'm just like everything that I do since it's a podcast and it has grown to the level that it has. I'm a public figure at this point. So I want to make sure that I do good, that I'm a good person. I'm not putting info out there that is false,
mhm,
putting
mhm.
things out there that I feel like would be harmful to everyone. And like you said, like I feel like I have this responsibility to do good and make sure that that is what I'm portraying on the internet essentially.
Yeah, I think a healthy environment, or just like, hopefully, this universe that you create, or this
I like that you said that because we have talked about like I have created this
Hmm.
universe
Hmm.
of like people submerging themselves of like this hot box, like it's
I,
me, it's you, it's this
yeah, yeah.
culture,
I
you
hope
know.
they can not only say, like, in this, what we were talking about before, where there were disagreements, where maybe now people can be like, Jackie, no, think about it this. And it could almost be like a roundtable discussion on being
Right.
like, okay, cool. And then we can learn off each other, and then that's it. And then
Exactly.
just taking that time until being like immediate dismissive, being like, no,
Right.
idiot. Like,
Because I have I have seen a lot of like podcasts that are very up and coming, and I take a look at my podcast. I don't want to compare, but I do feel like the community that I feel like I've built is very understanding. Like we have this Discord of about like 530
that's
people now,
awesome.
and if there is something like if someone feels uncomfortable or if something there's like a topic that someone wants to speak out about, like obviously everyone has the opportunity to come out and be like, hey, you know what, like I feel this way, I feel that way, and there's this like open like discussion that I feel like everyone can understand and be a part of.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm very like adamant about because I want people to tell me like how they feel about the things and the topics that we talk about here. And then I do see like a lot of the up and coming podcasts. I don't want to compare myself, but I genuinely do not feel like anyone is doing it the way that I'm doing it and the way that I've created it because it's just like there's a lot of like Latino podcasts that talk about very different topics. And I feel like the way that I've separated myself has been from like, I'm a storyteller.
I love it. You're getting in it. This is good.
Like what I've seen from other like podcasts up and coming, like especially Latino podcasts, I feel like there's like very similar themes and stuff like that. But I feel like the thing that separates me from those podcasts is that like this is a very genuine interaction with the people that I invite on, where it's like it's strictly storytelling. This isn't something like I'm not a comedy podcast. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, this is a very society and culture type of podcast. I'm not going to exhibit myself on the internet to be this kind of like, haha, like I'm making a joke out of my culture, which I feel like is very common to do right now,
Mm.
especially on the internet, to be like, haha, like I'm Latina and I'm going to showcase these like stereotypical Latino ways. Like I'm
Okay.
not going to do that. Like I'm going to be raw and I'm going to be real, and that's what I expect from my guests. That's what I feel like my audience is. It's just like this raw, real people that are going through exactly the same experiences that I am. I am
Yeah.
no different from my audience, truly. Like
Mhm.
other than like I'm probably a little bit older, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. It's it's one thing to look at what everybody's doing in the same field that you're in,
Definitely.
but to truly believe in your idea, which I believe a lot of other people still do, but you've gathered these people who feel like they have a place, and that is, I think, like everyone, we're all community driven. Us
Right.
as I feel like as humans, like we're driven by community and purpose.
Right.
It's kind of like, where do I belong and what could I bring to the table?
Mhm.
Always, that's like what we're looking for.
Right.
And for you to create that environment, because you're kind of like, I don't really see that, I think is awesome. I think it's incredible, and I think a lot of people will agree with that. And it can go so many directions, and it's going your way, and you're being patient with it, and you're listening to yourself, and you're taking time, and you're not letting other influences kind of sway you from kind of where you want to take this. And I
Right.
think that is something a lot of people should practice right now, because we do gain a lot of like we see a lot of people doing things, because this is all based from the internet. We're seeing a lot of people doing things, we're kind of comparing ourselves, being like, maybe I should just kind of switch it a little bit so it caters to that.
Right. I definitely have found myself being like, well, this is kind of like what people are into right now. Like, maybe I can play into that role, for like
Mhm.
right now. But at other times I'm like, well, I don't want to, like, I don't feel like that's genuine to me. I don't feel like
Mm.
that's genuine to my audience. So it's just like, it's very like pick and choose of like what I feel like is going to be beneficial and what's going to be performative, because I feel like a lot of what's happening on the internet right now and with celebrities and stuff, everything right now currently in the time that we're in because of the pandemic and all this, like the social push for doing good and stuff like that, I think everything is really performative right now, and I feel like people are very like tiptoey
Mm.
about like what's going on, like what can I talk about, what can I not, and
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's a point where I just am as genuine as I am in the life that I'm living regularly,
Mhm.
because I literally just sit here and I do this once a week,
Yeah.
and then I work my 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
That is all I do. I'm done with school. So I live a very regular life just like everyone else. I'm just trying to get ahead.
Mhm.
So that's what I feel like is my most genuine self, and I'm not trying to flex or do too much on the internet cuz it's just like, for what, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, totally. You want to this this is like a passion project of yours. This is literally like I want to this whole thing is encompassing you being like I want to believe in myself, and
Right.
why lose touch in yourself in the process, which
Mhm.
100% happens
If
all the time.
anything, I feel like I've learned more about myself doing this than anything that I would have been doing if I
Mm.
wasn't. It's like I get to speak with people on a daily basis that have different experiences, but also very similar to mine.
Mhm.
And just seeing that is just like I learned so much about myself, where it was like I thought I was by myself, and all these other people have very similar experiences. And I'm just like, wow, I'm not alone. And they probably felt they were alone. And just creating that community, like right now, I feel like it's the time of community. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
totally.
And just finding those similar people, even if they feel like, let's just say like you're first gen, but you feel like you have kind of detached
Yeah.
from your culture, where it was like in the Discord, we have people exactly the same, where it was like, I feel like, oh, I'm still Mexican, I'm first gen, but I don't really have that aspect. And everyone kind of fuses together and they have that similar connection. And that to me is probably the most important. Like, fuck everything else. Fuck all this like money that you could be making or like anything else. Like, the connection to me will mean more than anything that I could possibly make in the future.
Yeah, totally. You're giving people a platform to speak truthfully and give their time for others. I feel like because what you're saying is like you're having people, to me that's awesome. Like I can hear like, oh sick, there are people who are have similar like situation in life that happens to me, and they're giving their time to just share their story, even share their emotions. Just to give that time
Hmm.
is such like an investment. The thing I truly believe in is you touched on it, um, with Ashley,
Yeah, my last
your
guest.
last guest. The last thing you said was like you can be anywhere in the world,
But
and
you're
you
here
chose to be
today.
here, maybe from
Yeah. Oh, you know
Nordor.
what? I actually looked it up. I think it's like a Jay-Z lyric.
Jay Z, shout out Jay
I
Z.
think so.
But the thing is like I truly believe that I was like, yeah, that resonates with me totally for sure because I've always thought, um, the best gift you can give is your time.
Yeah.
And your people think like, oh, I have to take this out of my day to do this or take that, but it's as simple as like a simple being like, I'm gonna check in on a friend, I'm gonna take a second to text them or call them if you're on that
On that
level.
level.
Yeah, FaceTime if you're on that level.
I
I
love a
don't.
good FaceTime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if people FaceTime me, I'm like, what's this
You don't
about?
answer?
No,
Yo, if
I do, but it doesn't happen often because like I don't FaceTime. It's
okay,
text
okay.
or call. I love a good voicemail for me because it's back to the archiving thing. I use it a
Mm.
lot. I use
Wow.
voicemails and like music mixes that I do and all that
Yeah,
stuff. Like I love it just to kind of input a little bit of me. Um, but it's if you can take time for somebody, you can 100% take time for yourself. And I think time is the most important and most valuable thing.
definitely.
Know your self-worth, how you spend your time. And to me, one thing that I'm learning right now is I used to try to be so productive, and I have a very bad mindset in the way I gauge my self-worth is
Mhm.
through my productivity. So I'm always
Yeah.
super hard on myself to be like, you got to make the most out of your time. This is on a survival basis. Like I still even have like, I didn't go to school. So like, it's like, you got to prove that like you're capable or your mind is there.
Mhm.
And so time has always been like a very big thing for me. But to take myself outside of it and to just like look at my day, be like, how am I like setting up my day? Like an hour isn't even that long. So if you
Right.
just like commit to yourself, be like, let me start on the dot, just like initiate that, just try that once. And to
Mhm.
be like, see how long does it take, and be like, oh, okay, now you have that reference to be like, you know what, it doesn't take that long. And it becomes a pattern, it becomes this behavior, which will
Right.
hopefully become this like daily routine, which will embed itself in like your weekly routine and then just become something that you do and something that you don't think about. And it requires that initial like,
Step.
yes, I got to try to do this. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. And so I was learning on like, I was putting a lot on my plate, but I wasn't balancing it out enough. And
Mhm.
so I'm learning, I'm like, oh no, if I just like do this like right away, then I can lead to this next thing. And like an hour isn't even that long. And just
Right.
like
I
just do this right
think
now.
yeah, I think a lot of that like habit making and time management, I think it just comes with time and like you being you said you were 29, 26,
Yes,
29,
29.
29. You're 29. Like a lot of the listeners that we have now are in their like very like late teens, early 20s. And I feel like sometimes maybe they feel like, oh, well, my life isn't going the way I want it to be and
Yeah,
stuff like that, which I completely understand. Like, we've both been there,
yeah,
and now, like, them understanding that, like, you being at 29, me being at 25, 24, like, we still struggle with stuff like that, So it's
yeah,
just a cycle of like, you just have to try and just do your best. Like, no, like you said before, like, no one's perfect. Like, you're going to have stumbles, you're going to have times where, like, you slip up on the routine and stuff like that. Like that is you're just human at that point and it just takes time and it's not going to stop just because you grow with age. And I'm sure that people older than us can still relate to that and they're just like, "You know what? I even stumble up with my routine and like my progression with life and it's just you look up to the people that are older than you because you're like, wow, I want to be like them. Or it's like you talk to them and they're like, I don't even know what I'm
yeah,
doing.
totally.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I agree with
And
that.
at that point, it's just like no one knows what they're doing.
Hmm.
They're just like going through the motions of life, and you just do what you feel like is right to you and your values and your life that affects you personally. And that's all.
Yeah, staying truthful and faithful to yourself
Hmm.
is everything. Like you might slip up, you might want to explore a different area, which I heavily encourage, but the mistakes you make on your way doesn't define you. And I
Right.
think that that is should be a reminder for everybody that you're only trying, and once you know everybody's still trying, like
It
s-
takes off that pressure.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
Sometimes that freedom is crippling to people. They're kind of like, then there's no direction, there's no anything.
Right, right.
But then there should be like, well, then there's you to pave that way. Like, then you just call the shots. Like, let's go for
Mhm.
it, do for it. And
Right.
yeah, and if I heard this on another podcast, but it's like if you fall forward, at least that's the direction you want to go. So
Right.
that's like for sure 100% something that stuck with me. It's like, yeah, that's,
If you're falling, that means you're trying.
yeah. I
Definitely.
learned that from skating.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
because you
I know.
can't, like, you'll eat shit. You have to just commit. You have to just try, and you have to put like everything forward. Yeah, it's messed
Right.
up.
Definitely. One thing I did want to get into, going back to your artist. Hold on, I'm getting a foot cramp.
Hmm.
Um One thing that I wanted to go back to, and you talking about like the mixed media that you do
Yeah.
and just your creative genius overall. You did make a booklet with your friends. I don't know if this was completely your artwork, but it was called Summer Scum
Oh, yeah, yeah.
2018. Hold on, I'm gonna bring it out right now. Right
Damn.
here. Summer Scum 2018.
Yeah,
This was actually Jacob's, and then when I found out that he had it, I was trying to convince him to give it to me.
I'll give you one.
Cause I
I still
was
have
like,
some.
you really do?
Hmm.
Cause I was like, wow, like this is something that I cherish now that we live together. Cause I was like, you know what? If you don't want it, just give it to me. And I love collecting stuff. I
I
have
should.
3 works here of yours. I have
Damn.
this one. I have the most
Oh,
recent
yeah.
one. I have the most recent one, which you've personally binded yourself, which
Yeah.
I think is amazing. I remember you always talking about binding your own stuff and how
Mhm.
I expressed an interest of like, wow, you binding your own stuff, like crazy. Because I would love to do that stuff.
Mhm.
And then I have one of
Oh, yeah,
these,
yeah.
this older one as well. This one was called At the Deli. I thought about what to write back to you.
Yeah, that one is that one's actually still going on right now. That's a perfect example kind of where I'm at with my work using my film photos, and 2020 was a wild year, and I usually release stuff like a zine or a booklet or a photo book or something every year, maybe once a quarter, if not twice a year. And 2020 was such a harsh year. I was like, don't like, there's so much going on. I don't want to make this about me.
Yeah.
So a lot of those photos are from that era. And they are a mix of my digital aspirations of like doing visual art and using photos with that. So that's particle displacement, and it gives a cool like textural look. It almost looks like an impressionist painting.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it started off by um, like writing letters to people, and that's my grandpa. He broke
Right
his
here.
arm. Yeah. And
But
then we did acid in those woods over there.
these are really incredible pieces because like you said, it just incorporates like your media and like
Hmm.
this textured piece that you feel like you added and just made it something completely different to mean something to you, that you feel like you make sure that the person that receives it kind of gets that same feeling. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. There's to go with that, I left a little writing on the inside to kind of go with that. That was
Mhm.
like part of another writing I had written to somebody. And
Right here.
yeah, it's
All right, let me read it really quick. It says, we've been riding to the lake on my days off to share a drink on the rocks. I got your letter the other night. I read it outside my gate. Holding onto your paper, I noticed smudges on the corners, left from the dirt on my hands, crumpled by the wind. I follow the ink smeared across the paper as you write. What lovely texture in your message. How did you know I was going to add this without writing a single word?
yeah.
Wow.
So it's just about communicating with other people and communicating with somebody else, and then how we harness these ideas that we have, and how our own memories, we cater to our own memories. How we remember things how we want them to. So it's like,
Right.
how much do you stretch that fabric of your memory until it becomes this like obscure kind of like looking thing? And that's what that's about. It's like, to what level are you holding on or trying to let go or anything like that? But our memories are skewed. We only remember the portions that we want, and they're usually catered towards us,
Yeah,
in
definitely.
defense or just kind of as a survival method. So yeah, that's what that's about.
It's a very personal piece, I will
Oh,
say. So
thanks.
I
Cool.
think it's
Yeah, I hope.
beautiful. I think it's beautiful. I will bring up, hold on. So back in 2018, you had a piece, you were like featured in this piece. It was called, let me look it up. It was this piece called Least Untrue. It was an interview that you had in like back in like
Oh,
2018.
whoa. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you had a piece in that interview that said, "What do you wish someone would ask you?" Do you remember this piece? It was like a part in like this like small interview.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying
And
to
I'm going to
think.
ask you that question right now.
What is it?
And it says, "Why keep going?"
Oh, because I want to. That's
Yes, that
yeah,
is
yeah,
exactly how
totally.
you answered. You said, "Because I want to."
Yeah, I
I
still
thought,
stick with that.
yeah, definitely. That was a couple years ago and stuff, but you said if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong. And I remember like because you and I we were coworkers. I don't know if we
Mhm.
ever talked about that, but you and I we were coworkers. We worked
Yeah.
at the same job, and I remember you saying that quote to me multiple times. Where you're
Mm.
like if you're not having fun, like you're doing it wrong. And that's not something that you should be doing. So I feel like from you, that is something that has stuck with me for a very long time. Where it was like, I'm not going to tolerate anything that I don't feel like I thoroughly enjoy,
Mhm.
So you made an impact on me.
Oh, that's thank you. That's I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, though that I truly believe that. Yeah, if you're not invested in yourself or you don't believe in yourself, trust me, like I am super hard on myself. I have a lot of hard days, but if you can't have a laugh, then why are you giving yourself such a hard time with this? Like, please, like, trust yourself. And if not, like, just wing it. If you're having to laugh because you're kind of like, fuck it, let's see how this goes. Like, you're at least going with your instincts and you know what's best for yourself in
Right.
most cases. So it's like lead with that foot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. We're going to get into some last minute Discord questions
Mhm.
that I did open the questions for the Discord so people can ask you some stuff and they took a look at your work and stuff like that. So these are the questions that come from that. It says, first of all, love your work. I really dig the mixed media. How would you describe your personal style? Could it be clothing style or your overall persona and interests?
Yeah. It's definitely driven by it's definitely driven by kind of, you know what it is that a lot of things that I am influenced or things that stimulate my creative process is through like some type of auditorial response. So like
Mhm.
things I hear, things I listen to, things whatever, I can start picturing, imagining, and building from that. So but it's a lot of it is cathartic. It's just this
Mm.
emotional investment on like I have with relationships with friends, my own personal relationships, um, and just kind of I can't really narrow it down because it is all over the place, and that's something
Yeah.
I was telling Jackie earlier. I was like, I wish I just like maybe stuck with one avenue and got really good at it, but I was
Yeah.
like, no, I want to learn how to do everything I'm influenced by,
Right. You
and
got one
so
life. You have to try it
yeah,
all.
I want to learn how to do it. Like, why not? Why limit yourself? Like, you can showcase and you can do totally do it. Just like be curious and have fun.
Yeah,
Try
definitely. I
to.
would say be curious. I think that is the most important thing. I think I was talking to my boyfriend a couple weeks ago where I was like, is podcasting what I want to do forever? And I know that deep down, like, no,
Hmm.
but I know that this is an avenue that I'm doing right now and I'm very passionate about. Later on, I could be passionate about something else. And just like trying all these different things that are just going to bring me personally happiness. And then like doing something else in the future that can
Mm.
like possibly also make me happy and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I
sorry I didn't
think,
really properly answer that. There's no like, but it's like just create things that you want to see,
right,
like
right.
have faith and share it, and it'll find its place.
Right. I think you answered it perfectly.
Thanks.
Sorry. Let's see. Next question. What is the hardest kind of media slash art that you've done, if there is any?
Um,
Something that you feel like you've had trouble in.
mhm. I would want to say, I guess with sharing would be like the visual stuff is something I'm still learning, but I guess I can share that. But the music,
Oh,
that's something
really?
that's not like super showcased in things I do, or like I don't I've never like I've been in like a tiny band or done stuff like that, but we never really done anything live, and it was more like for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I really would want to, yeah, like be in a band and like play live. Like I play guitar and piano and stuff like that. So I would totally like to do that. And that's everything. Like I told you, everything I do is pretty like influenced by like some sounds or music I hear,
Yeah.
and I start to kind of think of that and build from there. But music is definitely, I guess, been the most challenging, because if you're writing something, then people might dissect like what you're writing about, or just even singing,
Right. I feel
or
like once you put your art or your work or anything that you do out into the world, it's a free for all.
yeah,
It's
totally.
up to everyone else to dissect. Like, I know what it is when I make it.
Mhm.
Once it's out in the world, everyone else can have their own depiction of absolutely everything, which is fine,
Yeah,
which is great. I would love for people to have these like
yeah,
open-ended questions and um realizations for themselves. Like take what you can from what you just heard. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. I think that's totally okay. Like, take what you want, like with a photo or a video, like perceive that how you want. But
Yes,
it's like when you're
exactly.
straight up, it's your voice and you're
It
singing and you're doing it. It's kind of vulnerable.
is, but I
I'm
think
like,
that's the
"Ugh."
beauty of it. I think that's the beauty of it. I think people could take what they can and what they want because they see you be vulnerable. They can see themselves in your position,
Mhm, mhm.
you know? All right, let's see. Next question. How did you get into the type of artwork that you're doing? So you do a lot. I would say because of your childhood.
Yeah, the beginning video stuff definitely from my childhood,
Hmm.
and then music after video. Music was the instant like thing. I was like, since a kid, I was like, oh, I want to be in a rock band or something, because my brother was in bands and he would play, so I had that immediate reference to be like, that's sick. I like this energy. I like this. And then I started to get a couple years past, and I was like, this environment is kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about this.
Right.
Just in the specific like area. And then I discovered skating, and took it
To the
took it to
next
the next
level.
level. Like everything from the type of music I would discover from like skate videos to the type of artwork that people were showcasing. And what I took away from it the most is that you have a lot of control, and it's what you want to share, how you want to do it, the style you want to showcase, where you want to do it. And I think like right now, skating attitude is like attributing to like everything right now. It's like,
Yeah.
and but the best thing that I've sat with was that the mindset that you think of like with skating is, when you get really hyped about skating, you start to look at like the streets differently, and you're kind of like, I want to explore over here to see if there's anything like that. And I
Right.
think that type of mindset is important, just like with the way you think, because you're kind of like, this avenue isn't the only avenue, this isn't the only way you have to go, you can totally do it that way. And then we become, like myself has become guilty of that, being fixated with being like, I don't know, like, am I in the right path, because like I see these people are getting this far in this lane, like
Mm-hmm.
where do I go? And to just be like, no, like, you can literally do whatever that you want,
Yeah.
and like just put your style in it, put like that effort, and be consistent and believe in yourself and have fun, and people are going to see that, and literally it's going to come to you.
Yes,
Like, the
definitely.
more you focus on yourself, this is not even just creatively,
This is
this
your
is,
everyday life.
yeah, this is the way you hold yourself, the way you drink your water, the way you wake up, the way everything,
Mm-hmm.
just like do it for you, do it in your own style, like believe in your style, be like, yeah, like me myself is enough, and then what I do, and then that'll just like
It'll
start growing.
flourish. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I
definitely.
love that way of thinking. I think I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay. Just please
Hold
believe
on.
in yourself.
We have a lot of stuff.
I have so well, I have a lot. I was
Yeah,
thinking about that, but I was like, I don't know what you have, and I was gonna, because I really do want to give you some more.
we do have a lot of stuff from yours. This is just the beginning. There was definitely more of like the recent one that you sent with, I believe it was this one.
That was the one. Yeah, that's the most
Yeah,
recent one.
this one, and then you sent like postcards and stuff, and we had them out here.
Oh, yeah, that was with that one in the back. I don't
This
know.
one?
That one came with postcards. Yeah, I that was like a whole thing where it had like QR codes that led to,
Oh yeah, it was that
yeah,
one then.
yeah.
So we have those and we have them in the closet, but I have told Jacob like I want to get some frames, I want to put it on the fridge, I want to put
Yeah,
it
anything for you
everywhere.
guys. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I really, really appreciate that you always send us stuff. Honestly, like when we get a package from you,
Yeah,
I just can't believe it. I'm just like,
cool.
John sent us stuff. Like
Yeah.
he thought of us. What a nice guy. Hold on, let me see if we have a couple more questions left. Um, what project are you most proud of? Like to date?
um, well, there's a I don't. Hmm. There's a lot of things I'm trying to think right now to kind of think. Well, the most thing to kind of merge, the most recent thing was at the deli. And that's
Okay.
what I'm happy about right now, because it was a way where I was doing a lot of visual art and I didn't know how to showcase it, but I was really happy with the results. And I was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to put more me into it. And then so that was a really great way, because it's like this ever evolving project that gives me
Right.
like more things. Like, I'm planning to have a show with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most endearing thing that I really liked was that there's my first hand bound, or like the like Japanese stitched book binding. It was called Hiccup. And it was this booklet where I went to my parents' house and I would go visit them. And I decided some mornings I was going to go and then have my coffee. And then, like, my parents keep all their photo prints in shoe boxes. I feel like it's pretty common. And
Yeah.
then just open it, and it was so unorganized. So I started to organize everything, and then I started to pick my favorites. And then I wanted to remove myself as like a nostalgic view, to be like, do I like this photo as in like as a just a photography perspective? Like, do I just enjoy this photo? Not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily thinking like, is this a good photo,
Right.
but like, just like, do I like this photo? If I were to just see this, I would be like, this is cool. And so I started to like make different piles and just kind of narrow down from there. And it's
Mm.
called Hiccup. Yeah. And it was definitely something that I collected, like my favorite family photos, removing myself as like a family member, to be like, I just like these photos in general.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I did the hand stitch, and just like not using my own stuff, but just like enjoying the process of like
Right.
finding. It was cool, because it's like you're finding your own like not only is it cool family photos, but it's
Like
like
this
going to
is
a
a good
thrift store
photo.
and being like, fuck yeah, I finally found something after
Yeah.
a long
Like
time.
what a
Or
gem.
yes,
I
exactly.
think it's so crazy how like back then when you take a photo, looking now, like people don't understand like, oh, what a good photo is. Or like
Hmm.
I guess like going back to like you having like this sort of foundation where it was like because I took like one photography class like back in college, and it was like what makes a good photo, and there's like this strict set of rules of like this and this makes a good photo.
Yeah.
And back then, your parents, I'm
Hmm.
sure, were the ones taking the pictures. And it was like, this is just such a candid moment. And to you, like now having that like slight foundation and like you dabbling in such medias, you're like, this is a good photo. Or
Yeah,
it was like,
yeah,
they just didn't expect this,
yeah.
and they're just taking what they could.
There's a perfect example of that in that I included in that, which was um my parents are in Mexico. My mom was climbing up the steps. What's the the where people go when they climb up the steps? I totally don't
On
know.
the pyramids
Yeah, yeah.
of Mexico City, I think it's like close to there. I know what you're talking about though. I've never been
So
there before.
so my parents are there, and then there's a perfect photo of one of the pyramids, and then a couple kissing, like literally right there, and it's like framed perfectly. And I was like, "Wow, this is a great photo." And all my dad goes is like, "Yeah, your mom's right there," and she's like that big in the clutter of everybody else. And I just
Uh-huh.
thought that was so sweet that he was like, "Yeah, I took a photo of your mom," but didn't even know kind of
Everything else that was
yeah,
going
yeah,
on.
it was super cool. Yeah,
Oh.
super sweet. And there's like awesome, yeah, it's just like cool photos. Like I'm really inspired by just like candid in the moment feelings,
Mhm.
like something where
Yeah, because I definitely feel like the pieces that you take, the photographs that you take, and the way that you kind of put them all together in this like scenery, it's
Mhm,
like very intimate because
mhm.
you genuinely only really take pictures of like your friends, people that you enjoy, and things that you enjoy. And it's such a candid, like raw image of what like you are and what you like to be around.
Yeah, I hope people can see that in that frame, that lens, is that people can you can take photos of your friends and be unapologetic about it, but also like you can like there's can be this emotion captured that can be shared with so many people, like where it
Right.
can almost be it cut that barrier between like, oh, I don't know them, so I don't know kind of like what this memory was about, but just being like, oh, like I totally feel this photo, like I can totally see that. And that's kind of what I'm trying to capture there, is like unapologetically being transparent through one, like, just like taking photos and just like
Right.
showcase my friends, and just like having them trust me, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Them being like, I trust he'll know what to do with this, or just like whatever. So
Right.
it's
Because I
cool.
think like when, at least personally for me, when someone's like taking a picture of me, like I feel like you're taking a picture of like me, and I'm my most vulnerable spot.
Yeah,
When you were taking
totally.
pictures of me earlier, I'm just like, oh my God, that was such a bad picture
Yeah,
of me. But
yeah,
like
yeah.
it is in this like place where it's like this is my home,
Hmm.
and you taking pictures of your friends and your loved ones in environments where they feel the most comfortable, and like you're there and the people they love are there. It's just like it makes it way more special. You know what I mean?
I'd hope so.
No, definitely. But let's go into another question really quick. Okay, so this next one says, can you tell us the story behind the guy with the stitched up torso? The model is so nonchalant about it.
Yeah, deep cut. No pun intended. Pun intended, totally. That's my dad. My dad got really sick growing up, and he had two liver transplants. And to me, that was a wild time because it was just like my brother and I mostly. And that was, I think, the second like surgery, because he had to have two, which is like such a blessing. That's insane. Like people are barely able to get one.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I didn't even think about the severity of the situation. I almost wanted to just like block it off.
Yeah.
Like it's an emotional response to be like,
Because
I don't know.
any surgery is like a major surgery.
Yeah, it got to the point where in the beginning where my mom sat us down and was like, "Hey, your dad's sick." And like we were just kind of like, "Okay, like what's going on?"
Yeah.
Thinking very innocently about it. And then like a year and a half, my dad's not around, he's in the hospital and all that. And I wasn't sitting with those emotions and I wasn't like handling them right, and I was projecting in different ways, and bless my mom cuz she was only handling that, and I was like getting to stupid shit. And I think that photo was like a way for me to be like document this, like to remind yourself like this person went through so much pain and like you have to face it. And at the time I didn't like, I guess you would say, conceptualize that idea, but the reality was like I wanted to take a photo to document this because I was like, this is a fucked up situation, like this is my dad and like he's getting cut open, and like it was insane to see. Like there's a lot of other photos that I do have that I took, not necessarily of like the incisions or anything, but just like him being around, and then just like him losing weight rapidly, and then just to see someone like that was my dad who like almost looked unfamiliar, or it was like so surreal. But I was like, I have to document this because like this is all I have right now and I don't know where this is going to lead.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful that my dad is still here. He's very healthy, he's very considerate still and kind. And you would, I mean, he's grateful to be here, but he's a lot more chill. I would feel like it's like he gained
After
his
the,
confidence. I think he knows something that like
you
we
think he
don't.
saw
I
something?
totally 100% think. You want to know something crazy? So my grandma, his mom, came to visit him, but the night before she found out that her mom died, like age 99 in
Okay.
Mexico. So
Oh.
they found out, I think a day later or something like that. But then the morning that my grandma went to go visit my dad, she told him, and he's like, I know. She visited me last night. Yeah. And he watched her walk out. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It is like so surreal to think.
That is why when I feel like people are like, "Oh, dreams aren't real," like this and that, stop. Because I genuinely think they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the Pisces in me because I'm a very like daydreamer type of person.
Yeah.
I have a lot of dreams and I have a lot of nightmares specifically. And sometimes I find myself like learning a lot of lessons and like seeing a lot of things, almost like foreseeing, and I feel like that's very similar, which I think like that's when I have dreams, I take them true to
Hmm.
like when people are like, "Oh my gosh, if you have a dream that like, oh, your teeth are falling out, that's
Hmm.
bad luck." And recently I had something like that where it was like your teeth were falling out or like they were feeling like they were cracking and stuff. And then eventually like I found out something bad or whatever. And it was
Really?
yes. And then I just felt like, okay, I'm gonna pay attention to like my intuition,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I feel like is my dreams, you know? So that is crazy
Yeah, it
that your
was.
grandma had that dream or that
No, my
your
dad.
dad had
Yeah,
that
yeah,
dream
yeah.
of her.
Mhm.
Damn.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff like that. Not necessarily like, but it was in that era of him being sick where, yeah, he came out of it and he has just this confidence and belief in us because like I'm not really religious. My parents are. We grew up Catholic and they raised us Catholic, but they gave us the choice after a while to just like entrust us with making the right decisions.
Yeah.
And that is such a gamble, and if I ever have kids I'm like, fuck, am I gonna like make that move or some shit like
Right,
that?
right.
And so I was like, all right, cool, like
Mhm.
maybe I can try to replicate that, but it's, you never know, because they were literally just like, hey, we trust you make after a while they were like, we just trust you to make the right decision.
Yeah.
So then after like post sick and everything like that, he came back and there was just kind of like this vibe of like, all right, like you got this, like I see you guys as my kids and like my family, and like you guys are doing just fine. Like we felt that like I trust you guys to make the right decision, so please
Yeah.
just continue to do it.
Oh,
And
wow.
and after that, I'm always like, he knows something that like there's
Something
just
he
like,
saw something.
yeah, it's blows my mind to
It's
this day.
like
He
I
hasn't shared it. I haven't asked him, but like I don't
Oh my
know.
God. Like I feel like my dad went through something similar. Like my dad back in 2020, like very early 2020, he had COVID
Mhm.
and it was not looking good. He got it and he was very sick at that point. My mom was like, "Hey, your dad has COVID." I quarantined him upstairs, so we had like this whole second floor
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and he's up there. I made the decision to go back home for a couple weeks to like
Mhm.
help out my mom because she still had to work her job, right? So she was going to need a lot of help. I think because my dad had COVID, she also had to stay home because she
Mhm.
was like in close contact or whatever. And it's just like cooking for him and like just taking care of the house and stuff. I wanted to be there, right? And at some point, he like the bathroom upstairs wasn't working, so he had to come use the downstairs bathroom. And when I saw him, like we had to see him from like afar. He looked so sick and
Really?
so like I didn't recognize him. I was like, I cried because I was like, I don't know who that is. Like he
Mhm.
just looks so incredibly lifeless that I was terrified because I was like, the second he gets admitted to the hospital, like that's it, because like at the time it was like if you got admitted,
Yeah.
that was it,
Yeah.
and seeing him, it was like so scary. And then coming back, and then he came back and he was fine, like thank God he was okay. And then he almost had this like such a gratitude to him. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was like, oh my gosh, like I live for you guys. I live for my family, like this and
Yeah.
that. And it was just like, I feel like he saw something. He even told us, he was like, I was on the brink of death. I couldn't let
Wow.
go. He's like, I couldn't let go because of you guys. And he said he was having like all these visions and stuff. So I was just like, you definitely saw something
Yeah.
we will never be able to understand, but you're here
Is that
today.
your first time experiencing that with your parents where they had this revelation on like, oh shit, like
I think so, because it was like the closest thing that like either of my parents have been to like death.
yeah,
Either
yeah.
of them. And to me, I was like, even when he was there, like really sick, I was outside. I was trying to get out of my head and like walking the dog and stuff, try to be outside. And I was like trying to come to terms with like one day or very very like it could happen like tomorrow.
Mhm.
I'm not going to live with my dad,
Yeah.
so it was like me coming to terms with like I'm probably not going to have a parent and stuff like that, and I have to kind of get accustomed to that and like what I'm going to go through the motions
Mhm.
of doing that. So I it's very scary.
I know. Do you feel like your relationship with your dad strengthened, or like with your family? Has it been like,
It definitely did strengthen because now when he goes on vacation, like he's the one, like sometimes my mom has to work, so her vacation time does not get approved. His does. I have a very lenient schedule, so if he were to go on vacation, I'm the one to go with him.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I feel like because of that, like our relationship has very much strengthened and I'm very grateful for it because back then like I would call him maybe like once every 2 weeks, like we really
Yeah,
wouldn't
yeah.
talk all that much, but like now we talk all the time,
That's good.
right? So it's this like unspoken understanding that like we're not here for that long and we
Yeah.
have to like take care of each other.
Did did you feel like that leveled you out with your parents? Because I had an experience like that where like I was like, We're the same," and it eliminated that like caretaker, like you're my caretaker in the sense of
Yes.
like fuck, we gotta take care of each other, and like
Yeah.
I'm here for you just as much now as like you were here for me.
Definitely, definitely. I don't think that was the experience it took. I think it was like way before that when I was kind of like living by myself
Hmm.
and being on my own, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a person and I understand that they're just people also just trying to get by.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm just like, well, we have to just take care of each other because me and my older sister were out of the house and they still have my little sister at home. So we're all just kind of like, we're going to help each other. We're a team,
Yeah.
So we have very much like a team mentality to kind of get ourselves through the day and stuff. So,
That's cool though that you
mhm.
guys can look. That's everything. That's it. Like once you level set with your parents, it's just like they're literally trying to figure it out just as much as like I
Right.
am. And like
That
they've
goes,
guessed and gotten lucky for so long. Like,
right.
yeah,
That goes back to like seeing everyone as like everyone just has their own lives and like they're just
totally.
trying to like live
Totally.
their own lives. But no, definitely. Let's get into this last question. Okay, let's go into this last question really quick just to finish it off. Let's finish our wine first though.
Thank
Cheers.
you so much.
Mhm. All right, this last question says, your art aesthetic is very cool. I love the juxtaposition of sound in some of your art pieces. Is there any other art medium that interests you? And what would you do with it?
That I haven't done.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like um just seeing kind of like craftsmanship of like woodwork, ceramics is something that I was telling you about, that after my long period of working in the like focusing on the digital aspect of visual arts for a long time, I want to do something tangible. So ceramics in the sense of me being able to share. I don't have a great relationship with like preparing meals for myself just because I've lived alone for a few years, and I'm always trying to prioritize my time.
Yeah.
So being like, oh, I'll make a meal later or something like that.
Mhm.
I think maybe I can switch that focus to be like, if I can make ceramics, make something tangible with my hand and make a meal and share that with somebody, not only are we sharing the time, but the meal prep and the meal itself, but like the plate it's served on. And
Yeah.
someone said that food is there for you, so you should be there for it. So I feel like if I go all in and like even prepare the dish, that is like something like the dish itself that it's served on, that'll change my mindset. And maybe that's a bit extreme, but that's kind of like how I'm thinking about it right now. I really want to get good at that.
I don't even think that's that extreme because something that I've heard, and this, I think I heard this from one of the people that I consider my mentors. His name is Ruben Flores.
Mhm.
He's the CEO of Cash Drop. He I feel like is someone that I've looked up to for a while. And something that he has always said is that like food, when it comes to cooking food, you have to show the food love
Mhm.
for it to taste good, to be good?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's something that I feel like I do cooking for fun. I love to cook. So sometimes I'm just like, well, I have to take the time and the energy to
Mhm.
really immerse myself in this meal. And then later on, I'm just like, oh, I really enjoy this because I made this with my time and my energy and my love. And like you're saying, like the dishes that you make, the dish you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
for it, I think it would be phenomenal.
I think it's a good because I can real time give something to somebody,
Right.
and the relationship with the meal itself and the time you have to prep for it, make it, think about it, all that time I can allot specifically to serve on a dish that I know that I made for something that I thought about for somebody. And it's just all these pieces together, I think would be just really nice to be like, I want to put this effort for you because you chose to be here and just like share this. So it's like that's awesome. Like thank you. Like isn't this cool? And also like if you like it, if I have time, like here, take it. I'll make another one or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like I think we should share things so much, and not only just the meal, but like take this and remember this, and it could speak volumes, just that action itself, to be if even if they don't even have a good relationship with like their meals, they could be
Mm-hmm.
like,
Wow,
hmm.
like John gave this to me. I'm gonna use it, and I'm
Well,
gonna use it
like
for something nice.
like he made this, they made this, like I hope maybe I can do that, or they would
Right.
want to do that for somebody, or just a domino effect,
Right.
just to look out for each other.
Do something nice, and then that person will take it and go probably do something nice too with
Yeah,
the
it's
next
weird
person.
that it's me when I think about it. It's like I'm trying to fluff the way to be nice to myself to try to continue to be nice for other people too.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I'm gonna just do something. I'm gonna make something to give to other people so it can allow me to spend time for food, because spending time for food is something I have to do for myself. And so I'm always like backtracking like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Definitely. Well, that was all the questions that we had for you, but I mean, thank you so much for being
Yeah,
here.
totally.
I really appreciate you taking the time. I know it's been over 2 hours. It's going to be about 3 hours. So,
Sick.
this is probably the longest episode we've probably had to date. And, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I've wanted you to be on the podcast for a while. You were there when I had first had thought about having a podcast. We were
Mhm.
working together. We were coworkers. I told you this idea that I had, and you were just like, "Oh shit, dude. Fuck it, do it."
Yeah.
And you were kind of there at the beginning. So, I really appreciate you. And I remember telling you, like, you're going to be on the pod at some point. So,
Thank you. Yeah, it means the world to me that like even after so long, like you can do anything you want with this, and you still chose to be like, hey, like I'm keeping my word, because that's something I will never hold against you, but it's just like, yeah, like it's happening. Like come be a
yeah,
part of it. And that's that
definitely.
communal piece that
Yeah,
like is always like everyone looking out for each other.
for sure. I think this has definitely come full circle for me. And thank you for that.
It's awesome to see what it's incredible. Like it's so awesome to see what you did, and the effort that you apply and the drive you have, and I see it in you, and you're going to take this like so far away, and I hope to be back to just like share like what we've learned, and just to
Definitely.
kind of like just like talk shit about whatever. Not talk negatively, but just like, cut the shit.
I get you
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
mean. But yeah, thank you so much. And is there anything else you want to say?
I just if you're ever hard on yourself, like everyone's fighting the good fight. So please just be patient with yourself, and don't forget to have a good laugh.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.
We'll see you guys next week, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank
So,
you.
see ya.